Have you ever felt like success is just a step away, but laziness always seems to stop you in your tracks? You're not alone. So many people struggle with this exact same thing. You want to achieve big things. You have goals, dreams, and ambitions. But when it comes time to actually put in the work, your motivation vanishes. Sound familiar? You know that feeling, right? It's like you can see where you want to be, but there's this invisible wall that keeps you from reaching your potential. It's frustrating, exhausting, and, let's be honest, pretty demotivating. Maybe you've tried 100 times to break the cycle, but something always seems to hold you back. You've heard the advice, just be more disciplined, or stop procrastinating, but it doesn't really work. So what gives? Well, in today's video, I want to share something different. Instead of just telling you to get it together, because let's face it, that's not helpful, I'm going to show you how to understand your own behavior and break free from the cycle of laziness. I'm going to explain why your mind might be sabotaging your success, and more importantly, how you can turn things around. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through a practical framework that's going to help you get past that roadblock of laziness, even when it feels impossible. We're going to cover 3 simple yet powerful strategies that you can start using today to shift your mindset and get on the path toward success. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, this video is for you. First, let's talk about the biggest misconception that holds most of us back: thinking that success comes from willpower alone. A lot of the time, when we want to be productive, we believe that the key to success is simply pushing ourselves harder. We think, if I just have enough willpower, I can force myself to work, right? The problem is that willpower is not as reliable as you think. It's like a battery. It runs out the more you use it. So when you rely solely on willpower to tackle tasks, it's only a matter of time before you hit a wall. Let me ask you, how many times have you told yourself, I'll do it tomorrow? And then tomorrow comes and the cycle continues. It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty tank. Your body and mind can only push themselves for so long before you're burned out. So what's the answer? How can you keep yourself motivated and productive without relying on that fleeting burst of willpower? The answer lies in something far more effective: creating the right environment and habits. When you align your environment and routines with your goals, you don't have to rely on willpower anymore. Let's break this down. Imagine trying to study or work in a messy, cluttered room. It's tough, right? Your mind can't focus because your environment is distracting you. But if you create a space that's conducive to work, clean, organized, and free of distractions, you've already set yourself up for success. This is why creating good habits in an environment that supports your goals is so much more effective than simply telling yourself to work harder. Take the example of Anna, a friend of mine who's been struggling with laziness in her career. She would set big goals for herself but never seemed to follow through. She realized that every time she sat down to work, she was distracted by her phone, her email notifications, and the constant noise in her house. So she made one small but powerful change. She started setting up a designated workspace. She turned off her phone, closed all unnecessary tabs on her computer, and put on noise-canceling headphones to block out the distractions. Within just a few weeks, she saw a massive change. Her productivity skyrocketed, and most importantly, her procrastination started to fade away. So, if you want to break free from laziness, start by looking at your environment. Are you making it easy for yourself to succeed? Start small. Create a distraction-free workspace. Establish routines that make it easier to be productive, and set yourself up for success. I know what you're probably thinking. That sounds good, but what about my motivation? How do I keep it up when things get tough? That's what we'll dive into next. But first, take a moment to think about the small changes you could make in your environment today. It's about setting yourself up for success, not forcing it. Now that we've talked about the importance of creating the right environment and setting yourself up for success, let's shift gears and talk about something that's often overlooked when we struggle with laziness: motivation. I know, it's easy to tell someone, just stay motivated. But that's not always as simple as it sounds, right? Motivation isn't something you can just summon on command. It's not like flipping a switch. It's something that builds over time, especially when you're working toward long-term goals. So if you're waiting for that burst of inspiration to kick in before you start, you might be waiting a while. Instead of waiting for motivation to magically appear, you can cultivate it by focusing on small wins and progress. You see, motivation thrives on success, no matter how small. It's like a snowball effect. The more you achieve, the more motivated you become to keep going. It's all about building momentum. Think about the last time you accomplished something, no matter how tiny. Maybe you cleaned your desk, finished a small project, or simply stuck to a routine for a week. That feeling of accomplishment fuels your desire to do more. When you focus on just getting started, it's easier to build momentum. Take the story of John, a guy I know who's been battling procrastination for years. He'd always dreamed of writing a book, but every time he thought about starting, it seemed too overwhelming. Instead of writing the entire book, he decided to set a goal of writing just 200 words a day. It wasn't much, but it was a manageable, bite-sized goal. And here's the kicker. Within a month, he'd written more than 6,000 words. Suddenly, he felt the motivation to push forward, and today he's almost done with his first draft. John's success didn't come from a big, sudden burst of motivation. It came from consistently showing up, even when he didn't feel like it. So the next time you feel that urge to put something off, just focus on the next small step. Don't think about the end result. Think about the process. Taking small actions every day leads to bigger results, and that's what keeps the motivation flowing. But there's something else that can help keep you on track, and that's building a habit loop. This is where the magic happens. Once a behavior becomes a habit, you don't have to rely on willpower or motivation to get it done. It just happens automatically. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to check your phone the moment you wake up? Or how you naturally reach for your coffee in the morning? Those are examples of habits, behaviors that you do without even thinking about them. The goal is to create positive habits that will help you achieve your long-term success. And the key to doing that is consistency. The more you repeat a behavior, the more ingrained it becomes in your daily life. For instance, let's say you want to get better at reading. You could set a goal to read for just 10 minutes each day. At first, it might feel like a struggle, but after a week or two, it becomes second nature. Eventually, reading will no longer feel like a chore. It will become a habit. And once something becomes a habit, it's much easier to stick with it. You can apply this habit-building approach to any goal, whether it's exercising regularly, writing a book, or learning a new skill. Start small, be consistent, and gradually build your way up. Over time, you'll start to see real progress, and the results will speak for themselves. So the takeaway here is that motivation isn't something that magically appears. It's something you build through small actions and consistency. The key is to set yourself up for success by focusing on one step at a time and creating habits that move you closer to your goals. I know what you're probably thinking. This sounds great, but what if I still feel lazy some days? What if I just can't get myself to start? Well, in that case, there's one more thing we need to address: your mindset. This is where things get really interesting. Now let's tackle the last crucial piece of the puzzle, your mindset. If you're struggling with laziness, it's often not about the action itself. It's about how you're thinking about it. This is where everything starts to click. Your mindset can either be your biggest ally or your greatest obstacle. Here's the thing. Thinking about your goals or tasks as something you have to do is one of the quickest ways to kill your motivation. It creates a sense of resistance, which leads to procrastination. Instead, try shifting your perspective and viewing these tasks as something you get to do. When you look at it this way, things don't feel like obligations. They feel like opportunities. Let's take an example. If you've ever worked out or exercised, you know how easy it is to fall into the "I have to work out today" mindset. It feels like a chore, right? But imagine instead thinking, "I get to work out today because it's a chance to improve my health and feel better." This shift in mindset can make a huge difference in how you approach the task. The more you start viewing your work as something you're grateful for, rather than a burden, the more motivated you'll be to follow through. A lot of times, we don't do something because we think it's going to be hard or unpleasant. But have you ever found that once you start, it's not as bad as you thought? For example, a few months ago, I decided I was going to start running in the mornings. The first day, I dreaded it. I thought to myself, ugh, I'm not a runner. I'll be exhausted. But I pushed through, and guess what? After just 5 minutes, I felt amazing. Not only was it easier than I imagined, but I felt a real sense of accomplishment. This is what's known as the activation energy in psychology. It's that initial effort required to get started, and once you push past that, the momentum builds. So, remember that the hardest part is often just starting, and once you begin, you'll find that the process itself becomes easier, even enjoyable. Another key piece to the mindset puzzle is self-compassion. If you're always beating yourself up for not being productive enough, that negative self-talk only fuels the cycle of laziness. You've got to be kind to yourself and understand that no one is perfect. Some days you'll struggle, and that's okay. The goal isn't to be flawless, it's to keep showing up and giving yourself grace when things don't go as planned. For example, let's talk about Sarah. Sarah is a working mom with 2 kids, and she's been struggling with getting her personal projects off the ground. Some days she would start her day with the best of intentions, only to end up feeling guilty for not accomplishing as much as she thought she should. But after recognizing the negative impact of her inner critic, she shifted her mindset. Instead of focusing on the things she didn't do, she began celebrating the small wins, like getting through her workday, taking care of her family, or simply making a bit of progress on her projects. By showing herself some compassion, Sarah started to feel less overwhelmed and more motivated to continue. This mindset shift wasn't about being perfect. It was about appreciating progress and treating herself with kindness. When you can practice self-compassion and release the idea of perfection, you'll notice a huge change in your motivation. Now, before we wrap up, let's touch on one final point: the power of accountability. Having someone to keep you accountable can make all the difference. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, or even an online community, sharing your goals with others can provide that extra push when you're feeling lazy. Knowing that someone is checking in on your progress creates a sense of responsibility that can push you to follow through. You could also consider working with a coach or mentor who can help you stay on track. Sometimes knowing you're not in this alone makes the biggest difference. Accountability doesn't have to be pressure-filled. It's just about having someone to cheer you on and hold you to your commitments. In conclusion, success isn't about waiting for motivation to strike like a lightning bolt. It's about creating the right environment, taking small actions consistently, shifting your mindset, and practicing self-compassion. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a victory, and each victory leads you closer to your bigger goals. So next time you catch yourself struggling with laziness, remind yourself, you've got this. Focus on the small wins, keep building momentum, and treat yourself with kindness along the way. And if you found any of this helpful, why not hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments? We'd love to hear your experiences and strategies for overcoming laziness. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Keep pushing forward, and remember, small steps lead to big changes. You've got all the tools you need to succeed. Now it's time to put them into action.